Hi everyone, I'm Maya White,
I'm PhD Michelle.
I'm Braden Johansson.
and today we're going to be talking about sensation and perception. The article that we read focused on decreased food sensory importance in patients with olfactory dysfunction. So to make this an easier read, we're going to start with some terminology. So first of all, olfactory senses weren't one of the ones that we covered in class, but it is something that is the main focus of our article, which is a mucus-covered membrane in the olfactory epithelium, or otherwise the roof of the nasal cavity that receives airborne molecules such as odor and transmits the information to the brain using the olfactory nerve. It's a very neurally focused process. So olfactory dysfunction is damage to the olfactory sense neurons that result in impairment of odor and flavor detection. A couple different examples of these dysfunctions. First of all, normosmia is the normal function of odor detection, but after that we have anosmia, which is complete loss of ability to detect odor, hyposmia, which is impaired ability to detect odor, parosmia, which is distortion of odor perception, so something shouldn't smell as you think it would smell like, and phantosmia, which is detection of an odor that is non-existent, so smelling something that isn't really there.
Okay, so a quick summary of our article. The primary aim of this research was to compare smell, taste, and texture of food between people with olfactory dysfunction and normal olfaction. The main hypothesis was that the attitudes toward the importance of sensory aspects of food would follow a similar pattern as the adaptive coping mechanism to olfactory dysfunction. In other words, the study researched how senses play a role in eating. Those with olfactory dysfunction volunteered from the outpatient department at the University Hospital Dresden were first given a questionnaire of 10 questions on how much they rely on their senses daily. Then the volunteers moved to the sniff and sticks test, where their olfactory functions were tested. Data was collected on a 1 through 16 scale of a threshold, odor discrimination, and odor identification. Then participants were asked to identify tastes, which were sour, bitter, sweet, and salty. And our conclusions of the article, among the 426 participants, 122 reported experiencing parosmia, while 42 reported experiencing phantosmia. We found that, or they found that smell importance was decreased, taste importance was decreased, and texture importance was increased, all for people with olfactory dysfunction. And it was found that those who have had to adapt their senses have also been able to use their adaptive abilities for other cognitive skills. And the graph on the right is something we took from the article.
The results for this research project make sense. Both taste and smell are related to each other as they're detected through chemical stimulus. If one of these senses is hindered, it makes sense for the other to also be hindered. It makes sense that touch, another sense involved in eating, would become more important to the eater as it's detected through pressure rather than chemical stimuli. The given sample was recruited from the University Hospital of Dresden. This means there's more than likely a surplus of people with issues smelling compared to the overall population. This, however, doesn't invalidate the results, as the focus of the study was to compare people with olfactory dysfunction to those with normal olfaction. Both smell and taste are not possible without chemoreception, the detection of chemical stimuli. In class, we've talked about what stimuli are and how they can be detected in many different ways. In this case, the detection relies heavily on neural reception and transport. We can see this in the study as they compared the participants' preference for smell, texture, and taste. Touch is processed in the parietal lobes after the sensory signal has gone through the thalamus after being detected. In class, we talked about how many different parts of the brain work together to process our sensations and perceptions. In this study, the participants had to go through the same procedure as they processed the stimuli from the study.
So the first connection to our own lives revolves around cooking, because it's possible that we could be cooking for someone who can't smell or someone who can't think they smell well or have one of the distorted ones like parosmia or anosmia. This is relevant because as we cook, we should be aware of the texture of food so people can enjoy what we have made to the same degree that we're able to enjoy it without having olfactory dysfunction. This is something that we definitely take for granted on a daily basis since none of us personally struggle with olfactory dysfunction, so it's not something we consider on a daily basis. These findings also relate to our lives heavily because of the COVID-19 pandemic, since losing sense of smell and taste was one of the telltale symptoms. And we now know that this is related to olfactory dysfunction. And this is something that people who contracted COVID still have not been able to recover to this day. So by paying attention to which of their senses they can still use, we can cater to receive the same pleasant sensations as they used to feel when they had full function. And here's a list of our references.